Jackie Doyle-Price. Thank you.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and I fully endorse the remarks of the Honourable Gentleman. I think we're all looking forward to 2021 being a whole lot better than the year that we are leaving. But I'd also associate myself with his comments about the tribute he's paid to his community, and I think we've probably all experienced, we've seen the best of our communities in response to this pandemic, and I would like to really pay tribute to everyone in my constituency too who really stepped up to the challenge and bore what has been a difficult year with great fortitude. So let's all hope that next year is so much better. And in that vein, I really want to talk about how we come back out of this crisis, and I'd like to advise the House about the very exciting plans that we are making in Thurrock in our bid for a Thames estuary Freeport, led by the ports of Tilbury and London Gateway. Now, I think members have often heard me lay claim to Thurrock being the port capital of the UK. And as a centre of excellence for ports and logistics, there is no stronger case to be made than for a Freeport to be located in Thurrock, as I'm sure my honourable friend, the member of Southend West, would fully agree. Indeed, it is the natural evolution, the role of the Thames as an engine of wealth creation and prosperity. We sit here in this Parliament on the Thames. London itself is a great capital city, one of the richest cities of the world, but it's only located here because of the Thames and because the Romans set up the Port of Londinium. So it makes absolutely sense, great sense, in the natural evolution of history of exploiting our river and our River Thames and our position as a maritime nation to make sure that we continue that evolution and establish the Thames Estuary Freeport in Thurrock. Often people think the ships have left the Thames, but the fact of the matter is all they did was move east. So in Tilbury we had the first ever container port in the country in 1968, just before I was born. So that's seamless history. It's also the case that we've now got Britain's deepest seaport, which aims to be the biggest at London Gateway. That's been the biggest inward investment in Europe and opened within this last decade. And I can also advise the House that we have Britain's newest port in Tilbury too. And I can advise the House that between planning permission and the first ship arriving, it took just 1 year. Wow. If only all our public infrastructure projects were that efficient, Madam Deputy Speaker. And a little known fact also is that the Thames remains Britain's second largest port, second only in terms of tonnage landed to the Humber. So we often hear people talk about Dover and other ports, but the fact of the matter is the Port of London is still a significant port. It has just moved east to Thurrock. And I have to say, having paid tribute to the entirety of my community and how they've responded to the challenge of COVID, it has to be said that the ships that arrive in Tilbury and the London Gateway are the ones that have kept us fed over this last year. The ships have continued to be unloaded, our dock workers have continued to go to work, and it's something that we often take for granted. And as people look forward to finally leaving the European Union, we've heard much prediction of chaos and difficulty, but I can tell you that the ports in Thurrock are extremely well prepared. As I've said, they built Tilbury 2 in the last year, specifically with the purpose of being Brexit ready. And I can advise the House that we've already got ships relocating their routes from Dover to Tilbury to take advantage of what is a changed economic situation for how our ports will work. So I think members will be able to see the very great pride I have in representing what is our maritime capital. An astonishingly competitive sector, and one with whom it is a pleasure to work. And a pleasure also because the ports also invest hugely in the local community, and they're massively committed to increasing skills and massively committed to really making that big community contribution. So it's a great delight for me to continue to support them. So that really takes us on to what our Freeport bid would look like. As I say, we have the Port of Tilbury, which is owned by Forth Ports, which is obviously Scottish. Again, good for the union that we have this partnership. But we also have, as a partner, London Gateway, led by DP World. So this is actually a partnership that's been borne by two competitors, which is, again, a staggering feat for them to be taking this forward. But we also have another great opportunity. Now, as I mentioned, the Thames as a port has moved east, but there are jetties all the way through into London, including one at Ford in Dagenham. Now, we will all recall that for many decades, Dagenham was a vast site and a massive manufacturer of cars. But over recent years, that manufacturing presence has declined, not least because our car habits have declined. When some of the car production was moved to more competitive locations in the world, they then moved to manufacturing just diesel engines. Of course, the demand for that is falling off. But we obviously want to keep the presence of Ford here in the UK and for it to play a bigger contribution, particularly as we leave the European Union and we wish to continue those new global commercial relationships. So I'm very excited to advise the House that not only have these two ports at Tilbury and London Gateway come together to discuss this, but we are also working with Ford to see how they can play a partnership so that we can develop a new centre of excellence for electric vehicles and autonomous vehicles. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is the future. This is exactly the kind of post-Brexit opportunity that we should be taking full advantage of. And I hope very, very much that the government will give its full support to the Thames Estuary Freeport. Not least because for decades, successive governments have tried to get the Thames Estuary moving as an economic entity. And it's never quite worked. And it's never quite worked because, we in South Essex, we don't really like being told what to do by people from London. We like to take control of our own destiny. And this is exactly what we've done. So I think, Madam Deputy Speaker, that the Thames Estuary is now an idea whose time has come. I think our Freeport will be the catalyst to make that happen. And I look forward to working with the government to make sure that the Thames Freeport really does underline Thurrock's position as the port capital of the UK.